We'll start the session now. So today's agenda is we'll talk about the document object model and how to interact with the document object model. So how we can use the document object model to create an element and how to create an HTML element using the document object using the JavaScript. So I will share my screen and start the session. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. I'll start with the So if the time permits, we'll also talk about the Vue. We will start the Vue application, how to build the basic Vue application. But at first we'll try to learn about the document object model. But it's a very important concept in JavaScript. So what I will do, I will create a directory. Vanilla. And then inside this, I will create two files, index.html and one more file, script.js. So what we will do, we will create an HTML document, and what the browser does, it parses the HTML document in some JavaScript object, which we call the document object model, and we can interact with that document object model and manipulate that document object model, and that will reflect in your HTML document. So once we will start this, so I'll start with creating an HTML document. So this is the template you can create using the VS Code, using the shortcut. So the template provided by the VS Code. So inside the body, I'll create a div element, and then inside that div, I'll write something. World, and then I will add the script here. I'll add this script, the JS file with this. I will add this JS file with this HTML document, and I hope everybody knows how to add this. Script.js, and I'll start a live server. So what happens when when the browser gets an HTML element, it parses the HTML element in some form of object with which you can interact using the JavaScript, and that object we call the document object model. So if you see this HTML document, we have a document tag, and inside that we have an HTML tag. Inside that we have a head tag, and inside the head tag we have meta tag and title tag And we also, inside the HTML element, we also have the body tag, and inside that body tag we have a div tag. So what the browser does, it will using this HTML document, it will create a tree like structure. So I will try to write it here on the notepad. So the document object model is the children of window object. So window object. So inside the window object, we have a document object, and inside the document object, we have the head, the head, these are all nodes. Like window is the like the root node, and inside that window object we have a document object. This is the next level node. Document is the like children of the window node, and head is the child of this document node. And inside the head we have meta node, and we also we have multiple meta. I'm just trying to like show how the browser creates the, I mean, what is the structure of the tree that that the browser creates. So if you visualize how this tree is, so we have a root node window, and inside that window we have a document. The window has a child called document, and that document has a child called head, and that head has a child meta, and the second meta is the sibling of this meta tag. And we also have, along with the head, the document had the second child called body, and inside the body, so the body had the children div. So on the high level, the tree looks something like this, and this tree we call the document object model. And this is the JavaScript object, so we can interact with this API using the JavaScript. So once once we are able to interact with this document object model, this tree, so if we want, we can remove this div element from the body tag. If we want, we can add some tag in this body tag. So, and that will reflect in the HTML document. So is there any question regarding the document object model? What is document object model?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I have one question that inside body there may be multiple div elements.
Yeah.
And within one div there may be other divs also.
Yes.
And suppose each div have their classes. Then when we try to access like document dot get element by class or get element by ID, then it can go from any level to any level, right? Or is it
Yes.
only for under body or under document
No.
like that?
So if you are like selecting the element with a certain class, it will like extract all the elements with that class name. It's not about one level. Like what I could understand what you are trying to say, that inside the body we have a div, and let's say it is of class 1, and inside this div, let's say we have another div, and its class is also class 1, so it will select it will select both the elements.
Yes, sir. Okay, this is okay.
So the high level idea of the document object model is, so it's kind of API that lets you interact with the with the HTML document using the JavaScript. By the interacting means, now you have access of that document object model. You can change the style, or you can change the content, or you can like create a new element and add it. I mean, add to some element, or you can remove some element from the HTML. So once you have the access of that document object model, you can like manipulate that document object model. This is the whole idea. That's why the JavaScript is so powerful. And JavaScript can do a lot of things, but this is one of the very important like application of JavaScript. So manipulating the document object model, and document object model is nothing but it's just a object representation of an HTML document.
Sir, can you like mention the other things also which JavaScript can do except the DOM manipulation?
Using JavaScript, you can send a request to the server.
Okay, so database connectivity. Okay, okay.
Yeah, when database connectivity, I'm not talking about the database connectivity. I'm talking about the. So if you, I mean,
Okay,
one thing.
HTTP.
Yeah, HTTP request. You can send the HTTP
Yeah.
request.
Okay, okay.
Even you can use JavaScript on the back end, but we are not going to use the JavaScript for the backend in this course. We are only concerned using the JavaScript for the front end for this course.
So focus of this course will be only DOM manipulation or
No. I
something.
mean, not the DOM manipulation, but behind the scene, we are going to learn about the Vue. The Vue is a
Okay,
JavaScript
okay.
framework. Yeah, it's a JavaScript framework. It also does the DOM manipulation, but we are not going to do it directly using the JavaScript. We are going to use the framework, which will do the DOM manipulation for us. So
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Got it, sir.
in some way we are, I mean, one level up. So I hope it's clear for everybody. So what is the document object model, and why it's important, and how we are going to manipulate the DOM, we'll learn in this session. So the first thing I will do, I will just check whether this script, the JavaScript file, has been attached with this HTML document or not. So for that, what I will do, I'll just write a console.log. Hello. And run it in the Chrome. Yeah, it's printing hello. So the JavaScript file has been attached with this document. So what I will do, I will just I hope the text is visible.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. So what we will do, we will using the HTML, using the JavaScript, we are going to create a to-do app. Only using the JavaScript, we will not we will create everything using the JavaScript. So we will have only one div element. I'll give it the ID to do. So everything we will create inside this div element with the ID to do, and we will create each element using the JavaScript. Will not write any HTML here. So I will go to the script, and the first thing, so the first question is, how do you like select the HTML element? So we have multiple like methods which the browser provides, which you can use to select the element. So one of them is get element by ID. So let's say const, I will write div dot. So when I started, I said that the document is the child of the document object is the child of the window object, but we don't have to write the window object. If we will write the window object, it will not throw an error, but we don't require to write the window object, so we will avoid that. I mean, what I'm trying to say, so you don't have to mention this window object. If you will not write the window object, the JavaScript will automatically append that window object. So we will like avoid using window. So we'll start with the document. So what I said, that this document object has all the nodes. If I will go to this tree like structure, so we have a document object inside that head. So we'll have to select, if I want to select this div, I'll have to like go through this document object. So document dot get element by ID, and you write the ID. And let's log this. Log it. Document dot.
Sir, should it not be only to do?
Oh, yeah. What is the name of get element by ID?
Sir, there is a pond sound, sir. So hashtag sign before to do, sir. In
Okay. Sorry. Let's try the different thing. I have one sec. Document dot get element by ID, which thing is fine. The right syntax. Get element by ID. Go to the index.html. Let's write it hello. Yeah. Okay, this is how the element looks like. What I did last time was like now you have selected this div element. It's selected, and if you want to access the property inner HTML means what is inside this inside this this div element. So what is the inner HTML? So if you look at the index.html, so we have a div element, and inside this we have a text node called hello world. So the inner HTML will be whatever is inside this div, whatever HTML is inside this div element can be accessed by the inner HTML property. So using this get element by ID to do, we have accessed this node, the div node, this node, and from this node we are trying to access the inner HTML of that div element. By the inner HTML means whatever HTML is inside the div tag. So if I'll change the hello world to, the inner HTML will become the hello world 2. And let's say inside this HTML, I will put this inside the p tag. P tag, and then if you'll see, then we have everything that is inside the div tag, the closing and opening div tag can be accessed using the this inner dot inner HTML property. So this is not the only way you can access that to do that div element. You can use the query selector also. So this is one way. And what I will do, I will just div equal to document query selector, and inside that I will write the to do, and if you can see that this is the same thing. The only difference is you don't have to like remember the get element by ID. So there are if you want to like select this div element, you can use the tag name also, the document.get element by the tag name, and you can mention the tag name, whatever that here the tag name is div. So if you will write the div here, the result will be the same. But the good thing about the query selector is you don't have to like remember the multiple methods. You just use the query selector and use the CSS selector here. Like if you want to CSS selector, I hope you guys remember from the MAD one. So if you want to access,
Yes, sir.
yeah, if you want to access like if you want to select the element with the ID, you use the hash, and if you want to like access the element with the class, then you use the dot sign. So let's say I will write the class here. Class is equal to so if you want to access using the class, then you will have to write the get element using the class name. I mean, this method will change. So this method is only used if you want to select the element by the ID. Get elements by class name. If you want to use like select the element using the class name, you use the get elements by the class name. But the good thing about the query selector is you just have to use the selector here to do class. I hope to do class. So if you go here, so you can see that the same thing appears in the console. So this is the good practice to use the query selector. The only reason is you just have to use the CSS selector here, and you will be able to like use the multiple methods to select an element. I hope this is clear now. So how to select an element. So I will try to like class name also.
Sir, I have a question. Hello.
Yeah.
So if there are multiple classes with the same
Yeah.
name, what is returned by line number 4?
Multiple classes means?
Right.
Okay, I understood. I mean, you have a class, you have multiple elements with that class.
Right. Multiple elements with the same class, correct? Yeah.
So it will return an array. If you will use the class name, get element by the class name, it will return an array.
Okay. And if it's just one element with any, I mean, if there's just one element, then it's not an array, right? It's just single.
No. Even if it's a single element, the get element by the class name will always return an array.
Okay. Sir.
So I'll show you. I'll dot get element by class name, and I will write the class name for the to do class. Class. Now if you will go to the okay, inner HTML is not defined now. So if here you can see that this is an array. What I will do, I'll just write the 0. So this is the 0th index. So this one is now an array. So you can access it using, I mean, you can access the element of this array using the index. So if I will write inner HTML now, inner HTML, then you can see that this is the hello world too. But if I will remove this one, because this is array, so the JavaScript doesn't know, I mean, which element you are talking about, because div is now an array.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Okay.
So we'll stick with the query selector. For the simple reason, what I illustrated is like you don't have to write these functions like get element by class name or get element by ID. For the different selectors, you don't have to use the different methods. You can use one method, query selector, and you can use the CSS selector. to like define what kind of element you are trying to select. Okay. So what we will be building here is an to-do app. So one thing I would like to show you. So how to create an. So I will remove this P element here. P element here, and I will try to create that P element using the JavaScript only. So the syntax for that is, the first thing you need to do is you need to like, I will be using the ID here. What was the ID? To do. So we have selected this element element with the ID to do. And what we will do, we will create a P element using the JavaScript, and we'll append it to this div element. So right now you can see that on the screen, I mean nothing. It's a blank screen. So we have nothing inside that div element. So nothing is visible on the screen. So what I will do, I will create an element using JavaScript and append it to this div element. Or let's say I want to append a text, append an HTML using this. I mean inside this div element, you can also do that. But what I will do, I will create a P element and then append it to this div element. So let's create a P element. P element is equal to document dot create element, and all you have to do is like write the tag name. Let's not make a complex name. So what this command will do, it will create a P element, and inside that P element, let's insert some HTML. So the syntax for that, p1 dot inner HTML is equal to hello. So now what we did, we created a P element using the JavaScript, and then added an HTML using this inner HTML property. And now what I will do, I will just append it to the div element. Div dot append child, and I'll write here. So now you can see that on the screen, hello appears. I didn't write the HTML. I just created a tag. I mean, created an element using the JavaScript, and then added some HTML inside that element, and then appended it to the div.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, here if we want to attach some class name with the P element, then can we do that?
Yeah, you can do that, but I don't remember the syntax right now. But you can do that.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay. And one thing I would show you. So now you know that the div element. Okay. So what I will do, I will create a in order to create an to-do app, what I will do, I will just inside this div, I will add one form. Input is equal to text and give it a ID. I will give it an ID to do form. Here. So we have a form here, and the idea is to we will write something inside this this input box, and I will also create an button, and that will say add task, add task. So when you write something inside this, let's say I will write Apple. So what I want to do here is once I will click the add task, it will add to the to-do list. This is our objective. So right now what we have a div element. Inside that we have a input box and we have a button. So what our aim is, whatever is written inside this input box, so we will catch that text, and on clicking this button, we will add it to a list. So for that, what we need a list. And inside that list, we will add the, for now, let's say I'll add one. So what I want, we have a list, unordered list. So whenever someone clicks after writing something inside this text box, whenever someone clicks on the add task, it will add to this list. This is our objective for now. So how can we achieve this?
So using UL.
Yeah. So the first thing we need to do is we need to like select the UL element. And
With some ID.
and on every click, we need to create a list element and append it to the UL element. I hope you got the idea.
Yes.
Now we'll remove all this code. So what I will do, I'll just get this to do, and I will write it here, Control V, and button. I will also give this a ID to do button. So to do form, to do, and to do button. Okay. To do button, three things. The first thing, so what I will do, I will just select all these elements and store it in some variable. So I will start with the UL element is equal to document query selector and do. So this is the UL element, and now let the text input element document query selector, and then to do form. The name is correct. To do form. Now let the next thing, button to do button. Query selector. So to do. Now what I will do, I will create a function. No, the first thing is what I want to do. I want to like get the value that is inside this, but inside this form. On the click, when I will click this button. So button dot add event listener. So what add event listener does, it will add an event listener. By the event, I mean that the user action that the browser can understand. Any user action that a browser can understand is an event. So the what event listener does, it attaches a event to some callback function. By the callback function means a function that is passed to the another function is a callback function. I will write it, then you will understand. Click. So what it says that once someone click the button using this add event listener, what we are doing, once someone click on this button, you run this function. I hope you guys know the arrow function. So for now, let's check whether this on-click event handler works. So what will happen? We have selected the button, and then we have added a click event. We have attached a click event with this button. So once a user click on this button, this function, this is a function. This function will execute. And what this function is doing, this function is just logging the hello. So let's check whether it works. So once I will click on this button, it will log the hello. This means we have successfully attached this action, the click action, with this button. Is there any doubt with this click event?
So here syntax is the click event followed by the function, no?
Yeah, I mean, this is, we call the callback function. We call this a callback function because this is passed. This is passed as an argument to the another function. So add event listener is a function which takes the another function. So once you click on this, button, this function will get executed.
Yes, thank you.
And one more thing I would like to show you.
Hello, sir.
That is, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between the add event listener and on click?
On click, I guess you write it inside the HTML.
Yes, sir. Is there any difference between these two,
No. I
or
mean, they are the same.
these work same?
Yeah, they work
Functionality is same.
same. Yeah, the
Functionality is same.
functionality is same.
Okay, okay.
So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to use the JavaScript to do everything almost. That's why I am using this add event listener. Add task is equal to what I will do. I'll just copy this and paste it here. So and add task handler. So what I'm trying to say here is you can create a function, and it's not necessary that you define your function this uh, inside this add event listener. You can like define your function outside this, and then you can like mention this. I mean, write this function name here. I mean, it will work same. And this is much cleaner way to write the code. Because if this add task handler function gets bigger, the code will become messy. So if I will add the add task, I can say that it works similar. Okay, the reason and one more reason why I wrote this add task handler here is because I inside this add task handler, what I will try to do is I will create a li element, and then we'll add inside this ul element. So let me cut this and write it here so that I will have access to this ul element. So the syntax to create a const el li element equal to document dot create element, and then what kind of element you want to create, you just mention here. So what we want to create a li element, and for now let's write a inner html li dot object html equal to, we'll try to get this using the from the form, but for now let's write it apple every time someone clicks on that button, and then append. So what I did, so the button dot add event listener. So once a user clicks on this button, this function will get executed, and what this function does, it it creates a li element, and inside that li element, it like append an HTML, and that is Apple, and then append it to this UL element. So let's see. Orange. Let's say it works. Is there any doubt till now? So what we did, we added.
So
Yeah.
when we are creating an li element using create element,
Yeah.
so this li is predefined element,
Yeah. Li is a
or
tag.
li
You
is a tag.
remember? Yeah. Yeah. If you remember from the MAD one.
Yes, yes. Li is a tag.
So
UL,
yeah. Yeah.
unordered
Inside
list,
the
li, these are tags. But then
yes.
we are creating a variable li element
Yeah.
using document.create element. So create
Yes.
element takes this li as a predefined tag, not a
Yeah.
user defined anything.
No. No. So
So we cannot
inside.
pass any user defined thing inside create element
No. No.
parameter. Okay. Okay.
So if I'll write LIO, I mean this will not work. And what is this now? But this definitely doesn't. Okay, I'll have to check. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. But this is definitely not the li element. Okay, so the next thing is what I will do. Whatever is. So what the next thing what we will be doing is we will take the text which is written inside this text box, and we will add that text to this list. Like for now, if I will write Narendra here, so what I'm expecting is as soon as I will hit the add task, it will create a list which has the inner HTML Narendra, and then will append it to this UL element. So the so we
This
have
text box is the place to capture all the to-do list items, and that will be appended in the existing list.
yes. So what I will do, so once I will click on the add task handler, add event listener click. So the first thing I will have to do is like get the value that has been inserted inside the input element. So the first thing, console. So I will create another function. Get text value is equal to get text value is the input element dot log console dot log console.log input el input element dot el. So for now, let's attach this function with this event listener. Get text value. Okay, so if I will click the button, it will execute this get text value function. And what this get text value function does, it takes the value inserted in the input box and then log it to the console. Add task. I am hoping that it will write Narendra here in the console. Is this fine? So we have the input element and we can access the value that is inserted inside that input element from the value property. So all we have to do, we have to like input element dot value. So input dot, the value property will give you the value that has been inserted inside this input box. So now what I can do, I can like write the val here, and instead of using li.inner HTML is equal to orange, I will pass that value here. So from the, if I will call this add task handler, it will, if I will pass with a value, it will append that value. The inner HTML of that, the li tag which we are creating will be that value. What I'm trying to say here is, if I'll call this add task handler here and write hello here, so when I will click on this task, so it will add hello. So what is happening here? So once you are clicking on this button, it is calling this get text value, and this get text value is calling this add task handler function with a string hello, and that is creating an li element, and that li element, so whatever the value we are passing to this add task handler, the value is being, that is the inner HTML of this li element, and then it is appending to the UL element. I hope it is clear. When the control is going from here and then here. This function we are only using to get the input value. What I will do, I will replace this. So now if I will write Narendra here, it will add Narendra here. If I will write Narendra 1 here, it will add Narendra 1 here. Are you guys able to understand how this code works?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now the first thing is done. Now what we will be doing is, let me plug in the chat.
Sir, I have a question. On line 8, we defined that constant, right? So
Yeah.
I have a question, like, why are we not using let there, and why just use const? Is there a difference?
No, I mean you can use the const let, but I know I'm not going to change this element, create element. and whatever I am storing inside this li element, I'm not going to change. So I will not, I mean, that's why I didn't use the let. If I am using the let, that I'm assuming that I'm going to change that value in the future. But if I am using const, I'm assuming that I am not going to change that, the value of that value that I'm storing inside that variable.
Okay.
And using the const, if you are not going to change the value, is like good practice, because if you accidentally change the value, the JavaScript will like give you a warning. So it's better to use the const if you will not change the value. So now what I will do, I will create a button, and I will add it to the UL. Like right now, what we are doing, we are creating an li, and inside that li, we are writing the inner HTML. But I want to add a button also. So along with this text, I want to attach a button, and once I click on that button, I want to delete that list. So any idea how I can achieve this? At least how I can add the button.
The way we added li,
Yeah,
we'll be using a button and with one ID. We will append that ID.
I mean, ID we don't need. We can create a button.
Button, but we'll be having some ID, no, sir. Like
No, you don't.
li we are using. Tag will be button in this case. Document
Yeah,
dot create element, it will be a button,
button.
right? And that we are going to write inner HTML is equal to, now that button is going to hold some value,
Yeah,
or we are going to show it constant. So the same button only for the delete purpose, no?
yeah. So
Sir,
what
we
we
will
will do? Yeah.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
create the button and add a function to it, which will remove the element on click.
Element only.
Yes. Yes. So we have a li element. What we will do, we will create a span element and a button element, and we'll add both the span and the button element to the li tag, and then we will add that tree to the UL. I will write it here. So inside this, let's say we have a UL. So inside that UL, we will have a li, and that li will have two things: one span and one button. And with that button, we will add a event listener to this button also. And then once we click on this button, we will remove this whole node. So if you see that this is a tree with two child, the li is the root node of that tree, and span and button are the two child nodes. So we will create this tree and append it to the UL. A similar kind of tree will also be there in the UL tag. So this is the whole idea. And what we will do, once I will click on this button, I will remove the whole tree. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So for now, let's remove this one and create two forms. To document create element and For now, let's and in span dot inner HTML span element.
So what for we are creating span here?
I mean, what I just explained is like we will create a span and button. I mean, we will append
Yes,
both
sir.
these
Instead of
to the
creating
li.
span, can we just create button? That is what I wanted to.
No, but you need to like write some text now. The
Then it's
task, yeah.
fine. Okay. Okay, then fine.
And button will, I mean, the inner HTML of the button will be only delete.
No, I thought that button only will be there. It will directly deleting
No.
the li tag. Okay, fine, sir.
Dot inner HTML is equal to val. And then what I'll do, I'll create a button equal to document dot create element and then button. So I have, and inside that button dot inner HTML is equal to delete item, I will write delete item. And now what I'll do, I'll append both this span and button to this li element. So li element dot append button, then li el dot append and child. And child, that is like span one, span button. So we have added two children's, and now I will add this to a UL element and child li element. So now let's write delete item button. Oh, 3 button. So I should have added orange, and then if I'll click on the add task, it will, along with some text, it will also add the delete item. I mean, add a button. Let's remove this. Apple, I'll add task. So Apple will be written here and the delete item will be written here. I mean, this is a button. So what I want to do, I want to add an event listener with this button, So I will create a new function, const delete item is equal to Okay, now let's leave it. So what I will do, I will inside this button, what I will do, I will add event listener. We already know how to add a event listener. Button dot add event listener, and we want to listen the click event, and what I will. So one new thing will appear here. So you can pass an event. So event is a new object. So if once you click on some element, you can also get the name of the element that has been clicked. I'll try to like explain after writing the code. Console.log event.target. So once you write this callback function, I mean the JavaScript will automatically pass this event parameter to the callback function that has been used in the add event listener. So by the target means, so it will give you the access of that element that has been clicked. So I mean, let me show you the console. What I'm trying to say is, so once you click here, and if you'll go to the console, event.target. This one, and if I'll click on this delete item, and if I'll go to the console, then you can see that we have the access of this button element. So if you are clicking on this button, then along with this callback function, the JavaScript will automatically pass an parameter event that can be used to access the target element that has been clicked. So for now, we are clicking on the delete item. So if I'll click on the delete item, the value of this target will be this button because we have clicked this delete item. I mean, we have clicked this button. Is this clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Could you please repeat?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So what I'm trying to say that, so when you use this add event listener, what this add event listener does, it associate a event with a callback function. So when you like, so in this case, we have associated a click event to this callback function. By the association, what I mean is once you click on this button, it will run this function, and JavaScript will pass an event parameter. It's an object that can be I mean used to access the various things, and in that various things there is a thing called target, and using that target attribute we can access the element that has been clicked. When I am clicking is this delete button, delete item, so I am clicking on this element, I mean the button element. I'm clicking this button element, right? Because I mean I have attached this click event with this button element. So when I'm clicking on this delete item button, the target that has been clicked is this button element. So that's why when I am clicking on this delete item, the target is this button element. On click, we are able to access which element has been clicked. Let's say what I will do. So instead of button, what I will do, I will just add the span. The span here. So now what I have done, I have associated a click event with this span element. So whenever I will click on this span element, the event.target will give me, will provide me the span, that span tag. So let me do.
Access of that element.
Yeah. Now if I will click on this span element, you can see that I have, the JavaScript has logged the whole element to the console. Now that we have the access of this element, we can traverse through that tree and go to the parent of this span element and then remove that tree. Remove that tree from the, whatever the tree structure we have. What I'm trying to say here is,
So
when I'm
by clicking on the delete button, we have captured that item, and then we can identify that item for deleting from the list.
Yeah. So when I'm clicking on this button, so using the JavaScript, I am accessing this node. So if I will, and I can access the parent of this node, that is li. So I will go to the parent node and remove that li. So I will change this to the button, and console.log event.target will be now the button element, and dot, if I will write the parent node, event.target.parent node. So if I'll add this, and if I'll click on this one, you can see that we have access of this li now. So instead of logging, I will remove that from the UL. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. This part is clear now.
Yes, sir.
How to delete this?
Actually, your voice is breaking. So what I will do now is I will remove this from the UL element. UL element dot child, and I will write the whole thing. Now if I'll add Narendra and if I'll click on the delete item, this will be deleted. So I will add Narendra and Narendra 1. And if I'll remove this delete item, this will be gone. Because I guess you guys have understood what I did is, like, when I was clicking on the button and using the JavaScript, I just fetch that element, and I know the document object model is a tree, the DOM tree. So inside that, using that the JavaScript, I can traverse through the tree, and I can go to the parent node of this button. One second. So I hope everybody understood what I did.
Yes, sir. I mean, you selected till parent for that particular branch,
Yeah,
and you
remove
deleted
that.
from that button. Yes.
Yeah, I removed that tree. So you have the to-do app now. And one more thing, I mean, you can change the style also using the JavaScript.
Yeah, but in the form field, whatever was entered last time, that remains.
Yeah, because I am only when I am clicking on this delete button, what I am doing, I am selecting only this list. And every item is a list, right? This is a UL element, and inside the UL, we have LI elements. So when and inside that LI elements, so inside the UL element, we have multiple LI elements, and inside this LI elements, we have span and button. So when I'm clicking on this button using the JavaScript, I'm accessing that element, and I know that LI is the parent of this element. So I will go to this LI and remove this, I mean, this tree from the parent tree. So technically it will look like this because it is removed. So we have a to-do list using the JavaScript. Now, is there any question till now?
Till here, it's clear.
Okay, so what I will do, I will move to the view because it's now the week 3. One second.
Sir, one question. We don't have any more sessions this week, right? Just
Yes. Yes.
Sir, why is that so?
Because of the diploma certificate distribution.
Oh, okay.
Because of the paradox event.
Yeah, yeah. So should we start the view or we can start in the next session?
Sir, please start.
Okay. So I will create new directory now. So live session 1. So inside the view, I will also create I'll create two file index.html, HTML and script.js. For this session, we are going to use the Vue CDN. So a Vue can be used. A Vue can be used using the CDN or Vue CLI or the Vue CLI. For this session, we are going to use the Vue CDN because it's, easier to start with the Vue using the Vue CDN. I will start with the div. Give it an ID. App. And I will add the CDN for the view. So the whole idea of view is, so you separate the data of an app, of an front end app with the markup. By the markup means HTML and CSS. So your application is your markup is the function of the data. Once I will write an application, you will understand. I'll try to elaborate what I'm trying to say. So for now, you just understand that in order to use the view, you can use the Vue CLI or you can use the CDN also. So we are not going to build a very large application. So I will just start with the Vue CDN. It's easier to start with the CDN. So I'll go with the CDN. So this is the link of this CDN. For the and for this session, we are using the Vue 2. And now I'll add this script also. Script src script.js. So what I have done, I have added the CDN for, what we did in the last half. What I have added the new thing I have added is the Vue CDN, and everything remains the same. I have created a JavaScript file and added with this HTML document. And for this, we have a body tag. Inside the body tag, I have created a div element with the ID app, and on which our Vue application is going to mount the markup of our application. You will understand once I will write the application.
So in the head tag, this Vue CDN source is also a JS file, correct? Linked to a JS file.
Yes.
So that is a JavaScript file which is there in the header.
Yeah.
Which will
You can add the JavaScript file in the header.
Okay. So that will kind of create a particular web page kind of thing.
Yeah, it will block the rendering, but we don't have a lot to render in the HTML. You can see that there is nothing inside this HTML. We have just a div element with the ID app.
Yes.
I will create an app. So this is the syntax to create a Vue instance. It's very simple. You just start with a new keyword. I mean, new keyword is used to create an object in the JavaScript. I hope you all know. And view, this view object is, I mean, the reason why we have added this CDN here inside this HTML is because we want to create a view instance, and that has been defined inside this inside the JavaScript file which we have added. I mean, if you'll remove this this CDN, then we'll not have access of this view instance. Those who have already used the Bootstrap, they know about the CDN. And I am assuming that everybody has already used the Bootstrap in the Mad one. So now what, and the, when you create a view instance, you pass an options object. I hope you guys know how to create an object. I will start with the object now. Or you guys are familiar with the object in JavaScript?
Yes, sir. We are familiar.
Okay. So the reason why, I mean, we call it the options object, I will write a comment here. So when we create a view instance, we pass an object as an argument, and we call that object a options object. So the first option I am going to write here is element el option, and we write the app. We write the like ID of that element on which we want to mount our application. By writing this line of code, what we are trying to say, I mean, what the Vue app will do, it will go and find an element with the ID app, okay, with the ID app, and whatever the data we have, I mean, that data will be accessible inside that div element. I mean, it's not necessary that this is only the div element. The important thing is the ID. The ID is equal to app. So here we have written EL is equal to ID app. This means our Vue application will go and find the element with the ID app inside the HTML element, and whatever the data I will write can be accessed inside that element with the ID app. I'll write the data option also. Data. And data option is again an object. So let's say name. Narendra. Now if I'll go here and first name, okay, I have not started this. Yeah. So what happened here? We have, I mean, if you guys remember from the Mad one, you must the Jinja template.
Yes, sir.
The syntax was something similar to the Jinja template, but the difference is the Jinja template was being populated on the server side, but here the data is being populated on the in the browser, that is in the on the front end. So we can write all our data here, and the way we passed inside the Ginger template using the Flask, the similar kind of concept is here. We write all our data inside the data option, and then we can access this data option, all the variables inside this inside this element with the ID app. So what will happen here? Our application will go and find an element with the ID app, and there it will insert all the variable that is inside the data. If it is written here, if you will not write the first name here, then it will not populate the data. But I mean, these variables are accessible inside this div with the ID app. So if I'll write the another variable like last name, and then I can also access the last name here. So first name, and then the last name. Oh, writing it correct. Yeah. So you can see that you can access this variable inside this div element. I mean, inside the element with the ID app. So if, let's say, if I'll change this EL element from here to app1, I mean, everything will crash. Now our application doesn't know where is the app1, because it will try to find the element with the app1 with the ID app1 and try to like interpolate this data inside the template that has been provided inside this index.html. So we have a template, this one, this is the template, and inside that we have written the variables, and that variable will be populated using from this data option. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
This is the minimal application using Vue, and there are a lot of like benefit of using Vue. So let's say you want to print the full name. So the one way can be like write instead of writing the first name and last name, you write the full name, and this can be done like using first name plus last name, and you can like, so but I mean, you can write the full name using the JavaScript only. I mean, you can see that you can use the JavaScript syntax inside this curly braces. So inside the curly braces, these are the JavaScript syntax. This is how you like concatenate two variables in the JavaScript. The first name and last name, you just add the plus sign and both two will be concatenated. But the really simple way, the Vue like makes your code cleaner also. But let's say you have I mean, there are let's say you want to make use of a lot of variables and create a single variable using the multiple variables. So if you'll write everything inside this template, the code will become messy. So for that purpose, what the view provides a computed property. Computed option. So what it will do, you just define a function that will calculate the full name and use the variable name inside your template. Like for example, if I'll full name and I will write first first name plus last name. What I will do, I hope you guys know the formatted string in Python. The similar thing is present in the JavaScript also. So you use the backtick and first name last name and the backtick. In the Python, you write F. The string interpolation, I guess you guys remember.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The similar kind of thing is in the JavaScript also. First name and last name. So what I will do, I'll go to the full name, and instead of using the first name plus last name, I will just add the full name.
There is a small typo in the script.
Where?
The backtick is at the backtick should be removed. Like the full, there is a full name ending curly bracket.
Okay. Here this one. First name plus last name. Let's understand the concept first, and then we will fix that. First name is not defined. Okay, okay. Yeah. So this dot first name and this dot last name. Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference in computed block and methods block?
Which one? Oh,
Computed
one
block
sec.
and method block.
Let me write the whole
Yeah.
thing and then I will discuss. Yeah. Now you can ask. Computed block and?
Computed and methods. There is one more, methods and props.
Yeah, methods. And the computed property is like reactive. Reactive means, I mean, if you will change the first name or last name, it will, I mean, the return value will be computed whenever you will change the first name and last name.
That is through console, means through Vue tab, no?
I mean, wherever you are using this first name, let's say the first name is, for now it's Narendra and last name is Misra. If you will change these two things using some methods, then it is reactive, means as soon as these values change, I mean, this content will be changed automatically. The data observation is set up in the computer property, but the method you use to associate some action with some function. So inside the methods, you define some functions and you associate those functions with some action, like you in the click. So once you click on some button, you trigger that function. So that kind of functions you define inside the methods.
Hello, sir.
And what about props, sir? Props is also there.
Props.
Yeah.
Yeah, the props are there, but props has the different, like, It is used in the different context. In the different context means when you pass the data from the parent to child, I mean that is stored inside the. I mean you can use the props to like flow the data from parent to child.
In case of inheritance, we can define that in that section. No.
The inheritance, I would not say the inheritance. Like if you see the larger, I mean the medium size or the large application, the Vue application, the whole idea of creating a Vue application is to create the different components and using and like arranging those and using those components to create a large application. So if you are using the multiple components, you need to pass some data from one component to another component. So you need a way to like pass the data, and you use props to pass the data from the parent to the child. We will like talk about the props and the emit in much more detail, and then you will understand why we are using the props and what is the use case of the props. Don't worry.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
If we want to take the input, the first name and last name from form input,
Yeah.
then how can we take?
Yeah. I mean, you will learn all those things. Like there is a data binding in a data binding is also there in Vue. What you do, like you bind the input value of some form with the data property of the Vue application, and when you change the value that has been inputted inside the input box, the data property will automatically change. And the data property, once the data property is automatically changed, the computer property will automatically change.
Okay,
Or
this will be in the.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we will talk about all those things. Don't worry.
Okay, sir.
It's just a simple application. It's nothing. We had 30 minutes left, so I thought maybe we can start the Vue. Any other question? Okay. So can we stop the session now then? If you have no question, if you have, you can ask.
Sir, one like not from the current scope of this week, but I have a question that if we want to like build a like big project or big application, then what should be the approach? Like how to structure the things? Like these are we are learning the basic things and concepts, but if we want to build big application using these concepts, then what should be the structure? Like how to proceed?
I mean, how if you are like talking about this front end framework, are you
Yes,
talking
sir.
about the
Yes, sir.
front end or back end
Yes,
or
sir.
both?
This JavaScript.
Yeah, so you can use the Vue CLI. I mean, we'll we'll talk about that also.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
This
I
view.
mean, what you do, you have a larger picture of the application, and you divide your application in the multiple components, and you try to build those components, and then like using those components you build the bigger project. You can't build a big project in one file. I mean, it will be a
Okay,
disaster.
okay. Those are on the later weeks or.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about the Vue CLI. Vue CLI will provide you the boilerplate code. I mean, it will have the. I mean, it will give you a structure already. It will provide you the structure. You just have to understand, I mean, where to put your code. I mean, what are the different folders, and what are the use of these folders, and what kind of code I will put in the folder. I mean, it is the complete template. Everything will be there. Yeah.
It is the like the Flask application we did in the Mad one. Like there was a structure.
Yeah.
Right?
But in the Flask application, we created the structure by ourselves. But if you'll use the Vue CLI, it will provide you the structure.
Okay, built-in structure.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, it will provide you a built-in structure
Okay, okay, sir.
based on the best practices, how you should build the application. Anything else?
So when we say JavaScript is a weakly typed language, what do we mean?
Which type?
Weakly typed language.
Weakly typed.
Weakly.
Okay.
Weakly typed.
Okay. I'll have to check. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'll
it was
answer you in the
in
next.
sure. It was in graded assignment, but I left that option.
Dynamically typed, I know.
Yes, it is a dynamically typed and also weakly typed language.
Okay, I'll check it, or you can start a thread in the discourse and we can answer it.
I think it is because it is a forgiving language. So if you make some mistake, then it does not complain explicitly. So that's why I think it is called.
Okay. Related to coercion. Thank you.
Okay, the JavaScript like fails silently. I mean, this is one of the issues you will face in the later week, because your application will not work and it will not also throw the error. But I don't know about the weekly type. So I will answer this in the next session. Or you can start a thread on the discourse and we can answer there.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir. Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you.